100 years ago, kids in classrooms were taught the color of their skin was their most important characteristic. And if they looked a certain way, they were inferior. Today, kids are being taught that the color of their skin defines them again. And if they look a certain way, they're an oppressor.
What?
From colleges to corporations to our culture, people are making money and gaining power by pretending we haven't made any progress at all, by doubling down on the divisions we've worked so hard to heal. You know this stuff is wrong. Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country.
Okay, here's Kamala responding to Tim Scott.
First of all, no, I don't think America is a racist country, but we also do have to speak truth about the history of racism in our country and its existence today. And I applaud the president for always having the ability and the courage, frankly, to speak the truth about it. He spoke what we know from the intelligence community. One of the greatest threats to our national security is domestic terrorism, manifested by white supremacists. And so these are issues that we must confront. And it does not help to heal our country, to unify us as a people, to ignore the realities of that. And I think the president has been outstanding and a real national leader on the issue of saying, let's confront the realities and let's deal with it, knowing we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And the idea is that we want to unify the country, but not without speaking truth and requiring accountability as appropriate.
As appropriate. All right. So, and obviously the Justice Department under Joe Biden, with Merrick Garland at the helm as the Attorney General of the United States, is bringing a whole host of civil rights actions. Okay, the idea that we're having pattern and practice investigations into the policing in Minneapolis and Louisville, where there's wrongdoing in Kentucky, we all know that, and where Ahmaud Arbery's murderers were just charged with federal hate crimes in addition to the murderous, behavior, where they just decided to go hunt a jogger with guns and kill him, right? But I have to tell you, Cory Booker, was saying the other day what an honest broker Tim Scott was going to be.
This isn't about good intentions. This isn't about overt racism. This is about systems that are desperately need change. And the best way I know about doing them is creating real accountability. And accountability in the George Floyd Act has, number one, a lot more transparency. That data that was scraped by the Justice Department in my city, we want to pull that data from every police department to begin reporting from uses of force to even the racial breakdown of their traffic stops and more. In addition to that, we want to ban certain practices that has led to the death of people like Eric Garner or Breonna Taylor, specifically those kind of no-knock warrants and those kind of chokeholds. On top of that, we want to create greater liability. When you violate someone's civil rights, when you violate our law, we want to see real accountability. And that means taking on things like qualified immunity, which are shielding cities and officers from that. So there's a lot in our bill that would go a long way in shifting American police accountability.
Okay, so we're not a racist country, but we do have racist institutions and people who are racist serving inside those who get protection from the remnants of the racist institutionalization of racism. I don't know how else to say it. So here's Cory Booker, though. Chris Hayes asked him, so is there really a bipartisan effort here?
I think there's some informal conversations with Tim Scott, who is the author and sponsor of that sort of alternative bill that was floated the last time around. Is there an actual bipartisan consensus majority piece of legislation? Is that a possibility in the next short term?
It's most certainly a possibility. Tim and I are friends. We've done big bills together before, and he is a good faith actor, and we are in conversations, and I have some confidence that we can get something done. The question is, will it be enough so that we can say it's real reform, real change? Because I've seen things before, from racial sensitivity training to community policing funding, and it has not led to a stop of the deaths of people like Tamir Rice, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Eric Garner, and the names that we all know. So my standard is: are we making real substantive reforms that we can say are really going to make a difference in accountability in our country? And so I'm encouraged by the conversations right now. And I'm hard at work. This has been the center of my efforts for many days now to try to get something delivered to the president's desk.
So that was just a couple days ago. And now all of a sudden, Tim Scott has the bright spotlights. He's got the Klieg lights. He's got the white lights shining on him to do the rebuttal. The rebuttal, by the way, this is the last remnant of the fairness doctrine. Okay, if anybody ever wondered what the fairness doctrine looks like, the rebuttal for the State of the Union, or in this case, the joint session of Congress, the rebuttal, it's supposed to be like 5 minutes, but he did 14 last night. It's like our friend in Mississippi said, he talked 14 minutes too long. But that's what the fairness doctrine actually provided for. It was a rebuttal, like a 5-minute rebuttal or a 14. You remember Saturday Night Live? I was funny because I was referencing Garrett Morris, okay, as being the black cast member on the in the original Saturday Night Live ensemble. That's kind of what Tim Scott's doing there, right? I mean, that's what it felt like, looked like, smelled like, seemed like last night, because he literally became a victim of Stockholm syndrome. He literally became, a guy who loved his captors. It was just so strange. But on Saturday Night Live, do you remember Emily Litella, the Gilda Radner character? I almost can bet you hardly anybody remembers why Emily Litella was part of the news. The reason why Emily Litella, Gilda Radner's character, was part of the news is because she was part of the fairness doctrine back then in the 70s when it still existed, and she would do the rebuttal. But the thing about her character that was hysterically funny was she would mistake one thing for another and opine on it for like 2-3 minutes. So, she was supposed to be rebutting violence on TV, and she was going to be the rebuttal to all the violence that you saw on the TV. But instead she would say, I don't have a problem with violins. I like violins. Violins are musical. And then, Chevy Chase would interrupt her and say, no, it's not violins. It's violence. Oh, never mind. That's the fairness doctrine. Anyway, that's what Tim Scott was supposed to be doing last night. And it's almost like he got confused, like Emily, and somebody needed to tell him that he messed up. You know what I mean? That he got it completely and utterly wrong, and that there is racism in policing. Oh, there is? Oh, never mind. And that he's supposed to be working on the bill with the... It was very bizarre, I have to say. Patrick in L.A.
Hey, Randy. Thanks for the line. Appreciate it. Hope you're well. I was I was amazed, starting, listening to Tim Scott. But the Democrats have been given a heads up, to realize that he's not really there to help out with the police reform process.
He's really not that into you, is basically the message. Because he's really not that into himself or his own issues either. This is like Caitlyn Jenner. I said it the other day about her. The last thing we need is another reality TV star who is a transgendered Republican who isn't really that into her own damn self.
Precisely, exactly. I mean, all of that. But really, though, I mean, beyond that, he's there to sabotage the process. He's there to take information back to the knuckle draggers so that they can find ways to poke holes and make the process not happen. They're not interested in making it happen. They're there to sabotage the process.
You don't even need to do it, though. The numbers will do it. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more?